I caught my husband's bizarre secret plan. What happened next will haunt you forever. The air crackled with tension the night Sarah stumbled upon the peculiar package tucked away in the basement. It was an ordinary-looking cardboard box, but the way it sat there in the dim light, as if alive, sent a shiver down her spine. A ghostly whisper seemed to seep from its seams, urging her to open it. Curiosity didn't eat at her, it clawed. What was her husband, Jason, hiding? The ominous weight of something unspoken loomed like a storm cloud ready to burst. Inside, she found unnerving photographs, images of people she didn't recognize, their faces twisted in fear. The deep crimson hues of their expressions contrasted sharply with the cold, clinical gray of the basement walls. Who were these strangers? Why were they in her house? Panic rose in her chest like a balloon, twisting tighter and tighter until it threatened to pop. The discovery twisted her insides into knots of suspicion. Jason had been acting strange lately, too secretive, disappearing for hours with only vague excuses. Then there were the late-night phone calls filled with hushed tones. Once, she swore she heard her name, flitted across the line like an unwelcome ghost. Her mind raced through the worst possibilities. Was Jason involved in something illicit? Spying? Or worse? She could almost feel the cold weight of betrayal wrapping around her heart, squeezing until she could barely breathe. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With shaking hands, she reached for the top photo again. In it, a victim's terrified eyes seemed to follow her, pleading for help. What had she uncovered? Each flash of that frozen moment drove a nail of dread deeper into her heart. And then, at the very bottom of the box, lay a journal, its leather cover warped and scratched like it had seen too much. She flipped it open, and her eyes widened in horror as she read the handwriting, which mirrored Jason's perfect cursive. It spoke of plans, of people, and of sacrifices. Tears burned as she realized she had only scratched the surface of this twisted secret. What was he planning? Her world teetered on the brink of an unfathomable darkness, and she knew she had to find answers. Her heart raced, forcing her to confront the terrifying truth. This wasn't just about her husband, this was a matter of life and death. What would she discover next? The basement felt colder now, a chilling dread wrapping around her like a noose. Sarah flipped through the pages of the journal with frantic urgency. With every word she read, her heart pounded like a war drum, echoing in her ears. The chilling details were more horrifying than she could have ever imagined. Jason was involved in something sinister, something that had the potential to destroy lives. Her fingers trembled as they traced the jagged lines of his handwriting. He detailed encounters, appointments at shadowy locations, names she didn't recognize, but they all seemed real. A part of her wanted to toss the journal aside, to ignore her husband's dark path, but she couldn't. Reality loomed too close, these were actual lives at stake. Just then, a noise broke through the silence, a faint creak from above. Startled, she nearly dropped the journal. Her breath hitched as she strained to listen. Was Jason home? Panic surged through her as she imagined his reaction if he found her in the basement, rifling through secrets he had tried so hard to bury. Mustering courage, she slipped the journal under her shirt, its weight pressing against her like a heavy stone. Sarah darted towards the staircase, each step a flash of terror. She paused at the door, heartbeat pounding in her ears. Could she face Jason now? As if on cue, she heard the distinct sound of him entering the house, his footsteps echoing through the entryway, just a few rooms away from where she stood. She could feel the sweat forming on her brow. Sarah tiptoed back, heart racing as she focused on every sound. His voice reached her, low and menacing, speaking on the phone. Her instincts kicked into overdrive. She needed to know what he was saying. Leaning against the wall, she strained to hear the conversation. Her stomach knotted as she caught fragments of what he was saying tonight, the last one, and then the chilling words, "We need to erase all evidence." A cold chill traveled down her spine. Who was he erasing? Sweat dripped down her back as she fought the urge to run. A part of her wanted to confront him right then, to demand the truth. But the other part knew how dangerous he could be. What if he lashed out? What if he was involved in something that could cost her everything? Suddenly, he ended the call and began moving towards the kitchen. The sound of metal clinking resonated through the air. He was preparing something. A dreadful thought gripped her mind. What was he planning to do tonight? She needed to escape, to get to safety, yet the journal weighed heavily on her conscience. It was a key, a lifeline to the truth. With a steely resolve, she glanced around the basement for a place to hide it. Maybe something more clever than just letting it out in the open. Before she could dwell on it any longer, the door creaked. Jason was coming. In a panic, she slipped into the shadows just as the light flickered on. Her heart stopped as he stepped into the basement, glancing around as if sensing her presence but finding only the remnants of his secret. He was close now, too close. She held her breath, heart racing, praying he wouldn't find her. What would happen if he did? Then, a thought struck her. Could there still be time to save those people in the photos? Before the night ended, could she gather enough courage to uncover the truth or expose Jason's terrifying secret? The dread surged within her like a tidal wave. Was it too late for them all? She would have to act fast. But how? Would evasion be enough, or did she need to confront him? As the realization dawned on her, the figures from those haunting photographs flickered through her mind. With a sudden thrill of determination, she slipped past him quietly, praying he wouldn't sense her. But was it really a matter of escape, or had she just walked deeper into the darkness? In that instant, she was plunged into a chilling new reality. What was her husband truly capable of? The next movement seemed to echo through the hollow chamber of her soul. She could no longer turn back. As she crept up the stairs, new questions swirled in her mind like a maelstrom. Who was Jason really? And why had she ever overlooked the signs? With barely enough time to breathe, she realized one truth: the night's final reckoning was rapidly approaching, and she had to decide whether to run or make her stand. Were the sacrifices mentioned in the journal meant to ensure Jason's twisted ambitions were finally realized? Or was there something far more sinister lurking just beneath the surface? As Sarah ascended the stairs, each creak echoed like a scream in her ears. She forced herself to remain still, every fiber of her being screaming for her to flee, to escape whatever darkness awaited her. But the burden of the journal pressed upon her like a chain, tethering her to the truth that was now slowly unraveling. The kitchen light flickered, illuminating Jason as he stood over the counter, his back turned to her. The metallic clinking continued, a sinister melody that made her stomach churn. What was he preparing? Her breath quickened as she tiptoed, moving as quietly as a whispered secret. Peeking around the corner, she saw him pouring some dark liquid into a small vial. Her heart skipped, realizing that this was far more alarming than just a clandestine meeting. This was something physical, something dangerous. She cursed herself for her earlier indecision. How had she let it get to this point? No more mistakes, she muttered to herself, though it barely banished the fear that gripped her. The journal had detailed Jason's plans, and now she felt the weight of those words settle heavily in her gut. Clenching her fists, she felt a surge of adrenaline mixing with fear. For all those moments she had ignored the signs, the late nights, the odd phone calls. This was the consequence. She had to know what he was up to uncover the full extent of his sinister reality. As she peered closer, Jason's phone buzzed on the countertop, the screen lighting up with a message. She squinted to read it. Are you ready? It's time. Don't forget, no witnesses. The words sent a cold wave washing over her. No witnesses? Her mind raced. Who was he meeting? Was he hurting someone tonight? She glanced back at the stairs, considering her escape once more, but a clearer vision of the victims flashed in her mind. She couldn't abandon them, couldn't let Jason slip away in the shadows. Summoning every ounce of courage she had left, she stepped partly into the kitchen, determined to get answers. "Jason!" she called out, her voice shaky yet firm. He whirled around, surprise etched across his face. "Sarah! What are you doing down here?" Her pulse quickened as his eyes narrowed. "I was just looking for something." He took a step forward, his posture shifting, eyes darkening. "You shouldn't be here." The tone of his voice sent a shiver down her spine. High stakes, a volatile situation. She felt the tension wrap around them like a tightening noose. She had pushed the boundary, and now there was no going back. "Tell me what you're doing," she demanded, forcing defiance into her voice. His expression twisted, transforming from surprise to insistence. "You don't understand, Sarah. Just stay out of this." Her heart pounded, an internal battle raging within her. If she didn't make him tell her now, she might never get the chance again. "You're hurting people, aren't you? You can't hide it anymore." For a fleeting moment, uncertainty crossed his face, then he exhaled, the darkness within him surfacing. "You really don't want to know what's at stake," he said, barely above a whisper, yet it hung heavy in the air. The tension in the kitchen thickened, an unbearable silence stretching between them. Then Jason's phone buzzed again, this time with an incoming call. His gaze darted to the screen, the same name that had flickered moments before. Something cracked in his demeanor, a glint of panic. "Who is it?" Sarah pressed, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "You need to go, now." He surged forward, and Sarah instinctively backed away, her mind racing. What choice did she have? She spotted the journal tucked beneath her shirt, and in that instant, she knew she could no longer play passive. The truth was too dangerous now. She had to stand her ground, confront Jason before it was too late. "Tell me now or I'll expose everything," she shouted, braced for whatever he might do next. But just as the words left her mouth, the walls seemed to close in, the shadows darkening further. There was no turning back, not now. It was all or nothing. Either she would unravel the truth, or Jason would bury it forever. Jason's smirk twisted into something much darker. "You don't understand, Sarah. You're already part of this." As her breath caught in her throat, Sarah realized she was deeper in the darkness than she had ever imagined. The line between fight and flight blurred, and the imminent danger loomed closer. Was this a battle she could win, or had she unwittingly stepped into a trap she'd never escape? The realization hit her hard, drowning her in the weight of her choices. And then, the doorbell rang. The doorbell echoed through the kitchen, slicing the tension like a knife. It startled both Sarah and Jason, breaking the heavy silence hanging in the air. Her heart raced, not just from fear of Jason's reaction but from the nagging thought of who could be at the door. The vibrations of the doorbell lingered, a clear signal that their confrontation could be interrupted at any moment. "Don't answer it," Jason hissed, eyes darting toward the sound as if it were an intruder himself. "You don't know what you're getting into." "But what if it's someone who can help?" she shot back, her voice tight. "What if they can stop whatever you're planning?" The flicker of concern in Jason's expression quickly hardened into resolve. "No one can help you now, Sarah. Not when you've already crossed this line." An overwhelming sense of dread washed over her. She couldn't risk letting him close off all exits. "I can't just stand here," she cried. "I have to know the truth." Jason moved swiftly, blocking her path to the door. "You really have no idea, do you? If you open that door, everything changes. You'll wish you hadn't." Just then, the doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. A deep part of her questioned if it might be a police officer or someone connected to the journal, the key to making sense of Jason's cryptic world. She pushed past him, but something icy gripped her gut as Jason's hand slipped around her wrist, holding her back. "Let go of me," Sarah shouted, twisting free. She took a step toward the door, fueled by desperation and curiosity. Before she could reach for the knob, Jason's face transformed, morphing from a strained look of protectiveness to one of utter fury. "You don't want to do this," He warned, his voice low, menacing. The doorbell rang again, the sound trembling through her. Fear clenched at her heart, but she couldn't back down now. I'm tired of being kept in the dark. You make choices for me that I never agreed to. She yelled, the weight of her words charging the air. Jason moved closer, his eyes narrowing. You think you can handle the truth? You're not prepared for what's on the other side of that door. In that moment, adrenaline pumped through her veins. She pushed through her fear and reached for the doorknob, twisting it with a resolute shake. The door swung open to reveal a man tall, shadows enveloping him, dressed in black like a phantom. Behind him, the porch light glinted off something reflective, causing a chill to trickle down her spine. Jason, the man said, his tone smooth but with an underlying chill. We've been waiting. Sarah felt her breath hitch. Who was this man? An accomplice? The pieces were beginning to click into place, but nothing made sense. Jason stepped in front of her, blocking her view of the man further, anger radiating off him like a furnace. Get out, Jason ordered, his voice sharp as glass. No. She needs to hear this, the man replied, stepping forward as if daring Jason to make a move. Stay away from her. Jason shouted, but Sarah's heart was pounding now in a rhythm of panic and intrigue. She couldn't let fear swallow her whole. What do you want? Sarah asked, her voice trembling but steadier than she'd felt moments ago. The man smiled, a grim twist of his lips. Just a little chat about how far Jason is willing to go to keep his secrets safe, and how you fit into all of this. Jason's grip tightened on the counter behind him, his jaw clenched. You need to leave. Now. Before she could process what was happening, Jason lunged, moving with a speed that sent Sarah's heart crashing against her ribs. Her instinct screamed for her to get out of the way. But the stranger barely flinched. Instead, he thrust the reflective object into Jason's direction, and the kitchen filled with a blinding flash. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, the intensity of the sudden brightness exploding in her vision. She felt the rush of cold air as the door swung wide open, and for a split second, she couldn't tell who had moved where. All she knew was that chaos erupted, voices blending into a cacophony around her. Confusion wrapped around her like a thick fog, and then everything went dark. In the pitch black, questions spiraled through her mind like a storm. What had just happened? Was Jason still there? And who was the man? As she struggled to orient herself, a whisper echoed in the void, chilling her to the bone. Welcome to the truth. What truth awaited her in the darkness? And had the man just turned the page on a much darker chapter? A sharp gasp broke through the silence, splitting the thick blackness around Sarah. She flinched, her eyes peeling open, but the world remained cloaked in shadows. Panic surged within her, the fear clawing at her throat like a beast hungry for escape. The kitchen had just been a battleground, and now, with everything in pieces, she felt utterly exposed. Jason? She called, her voice trembling, searching for a flicker of familiarity in the void. Her heart pounded loud enough to drown out all other noises. Nothing. Only the echo of her own voice returned to her, a faint reminder of what was lost. Then, slowly, the haze began to lift. A distant light flickered at the edges of her vision, and she turned towards it, stepping cautiously. Sarah, a voice deep and chilling slithered toward her through the darkness. It was the man from before. Panic coursed through her veins, but something compelled her to stay put, intrigued by the unfolding mystery. What do you want from me? She managed to ask, her words trembling in the calm after the chaos. To tell you the truth, he said, his voice smooth, each word dripping with that unsettling calm. But you must understand it all comes with a price. The light began to brighten, a soft glow illuminating her surroundings like a lighthouse guiding a ship through a storm. Arranging their chaotic kitchen wasn't the priority anymore. Instead, Sarah felt the atmosphere shift, charged with an energy she could hardly comprehend. Where's Jason? She demanded, her chest tightening with anxiety. The thought of him being harmed sent icy tendrils of fear wrapping around her limbs. Don't worry about him for now, the man reassured her, his sly smile now visible in the flickering light. He was merely the gatekeeper. And now that you've crossed through, I can reveal what you've been missing all along. She felt a sharp pang of betrayal. Guilt spiraled within, as if she had torn through a thin veil of security that protected her from whatever lay beneath. What do you mean? Sarah took a step back. The shadows seemed to stretch behind her, urging her to flee. Everything you ever believed about your life, Jason, and even that journal you found, it's all part of a carefully woven web, he explained, tilting his head slightly, as if she were a puzzle waiting to be solved. But it's yet to unfold. You're not just a bystander. You have a role to play. The gravity of his words hung in the air, tightening around her in a vice grip. Was she really a player in some twisted game? Images of her life crashed through her mind, the stolen glances, the hushed conversations, every moment in between. Why should I believe anything you say? She retorted, frustration bubbling beneath her apprehension. You're just a stranger. True, he conceded, but a stranger with knowledge you desperately seek. The moment you dared to open that door, you invited the truth into your life. And now I hold it here, ready to share. You just need to take the leap. With her heart racing, Sarah considered the implications. A leap? Into darkness? Jason had warned her fiercely, but what if he was the real threat? Show me, she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Good choice, he declared, enthusiasm radiating through him as he stepped closer. Suddenly, the air buzzed with electric anticipation. He produced an old photograph, crumpled and worn, and handed it to her. Study this closely. It will reveal everything you need to know about Jason, and the games we all play. The photo was a portal to a world she had never expected. As she examined the image, emotion swelled, anger, fear, and an undeniable thirst for truth. But as her eyes roamed the photograph, shadows deepened, swallowing the light, plunging everything into overwhelming darkness once again. A sickening dread set in. What happens next? Ah, the man murmured, a satisfied grin spreading across his face. That's where it gets interesting. What lay in the shadows, and would she be ready to face the darkness that surrounded her? The photograph felt cold in her trembling hands, the material rough and worn, like time's fingerprints digging into its surface. She squinted, forcing herself to focus, searching for clues among the faded edges and blurry faces. A figure loomed larger than the rest, a woman with disheveled hair and wide, dark eyes. Who is she? Sarah asked, feeling the man's gaze boring into her, waiting for the truth to resonate within her. Who do you think she is? His voice was smooth, but there was a hint of something sharper behind it, like a knife hidden beneath silk. An icy chill squeezed around Sarah's heart. The resemblance was uncanny. No, it can't be, she swallowed hard, visions of her own reflection in mirrors and glass flashing in her mind. Your secret is out, Sarah, he taunted, stepping closer as the shadows coiled around them. She is the you that never was but could have been if only you had played the game right. Stop. Panic surged, and she dropped the photo as it slipped from her grip and fluttered to the ground like a defeated warrior. What game? What do you want from me? The shadows stirred, and she could feel them whispering, murmuring secrets just at the edge of her comprehension. I told you, dear Sarah, he replied, moving his gloved hand like a conductor leading an orchestra of terror. There's a price for truth. But first, you must confront the lies. With every word, the darkness thickened. Memories of Jason flooded in, their loving moments, the warmth they shared, the slowly dawning unease she had brushed aside for too long. What if he hid more than she ever realized? Was this tangled web he created meant to ensnare her? And Jason? She edged closer, unwilling to let go of her instinct to protect him, yet driven to know his truth. Ah, Jason. Such a noble pawn, he chuckled softly, shaking his head. But pawns can become queens if they know how to play. Sarah felt her breath hitch, her pulse drumming louder in her ears. What would you know about him? Everything. The man stepped back, shadows swirling around his wrists, each movement deliberate like the tightening of a noose. He was always a part of this, every decision, every choice you both made. None of it happened without his knowledge. Are you ready to uncover every thread linking your lives? The violence of her emotions surged, mixing into a toxic brew of fear and betrayal. Unseen forces tugged at her, but she recognized the spark of curiosity simmering within. If she looked closely, could she finally discern the truth? Why now? She whispered, the flickering light above pulsing as though it too feared the answer. Because you've crossed the threshold. The darkness is within you now, Sarah, he said, his voice a low hum resonating through her soul. The time for playing safe is over. All the choices, what you believe, the love you share, even what you think is real, they are all mere reflections. To find Jason, you must first find yourself. The thought gripped her hard, and suddenly the shadows didn't feel like a threat anymore, they felt like a challenge. With a determined breath, she reclaimed the photo, holding it up like a shield against the encroaching darkness. Show me, she demanded, strength mingling with fear, and let me see who I truly am. The man's eyes lit up, a spark of mad excitement igniting the shadows, the atmosphere crackling like a live wire. Now we're talking. Let us dive deeper, shall we? With a swift motion, he gestured toward the thickening shadows as they began to pulsate ominously, remorseless and hungry. Welcome to the truth. But remember, dear Sarah, he warned with a sly smile, not everything that's hidden wants to be found. As she stepped into the inky blackness, heart racing and instincts on high alert, a haunting question lingered: who would emerge from this darkness? Would she return as herself, or become something else entirely? And where was Jason really? The shadows enveloped Sarah, swirling like a tempest, pulling her deeper into their chaotic embrace. Fear clutched at her throat, but determination surged. She had come too far to turn back now. Her heart thudded in sync with the pulsating darkness, each beat resonating with an unholy rhythm, urging her forward. With each step, the air thickened, swirling with whispers that felt almost sentient, brushing against her skin like icy fingers. Visions flickered in the murky depths, flashes of lives unlived, choices made or avoided. She could see snippets of joy tainted by doubt, moments of passion intertwined with betrayal. The edges of her reality started to spin, spiraling like a fractured mirror. Let's begin, the man's voice echoed, now distant yet near, shadowy fingers pointing towards a crimson glow piercing through the dark. Your journey into the truth has begun. Sarah squinted, trying to focus on the light. What awaited her on the other side? She could feel curiosity eclipsing fear, a growing imperative to uncover what lay shrouded beneath Jason's charming facade, the life she thought they had built together. As she approached the glowing portal, memories as vivid as freshly painted canvases shot through her mind. The day they met, his infectious laughter, the warmth of his hands holding hers, the way he whispered sweet nothings under starlit skies. Yet, fading beneath those memories came the creeping doubts, the never-ending secrets he kept, the whispers she heard in the dead of night, the moments he flinched at her touch like she was a phantom haunting him. But suddenly, the vision shifted. Jason stood alone, in the glow of twilight, his figure twisted and distorted. She reached for him, but he turned away. I can't let you in, he whispered. The hurt in his eyes was darker than any shadow. No. This isn't real. Sarah screamed, grappling with the scene. But even as she yelled, she could feel her conviction wavering. Doubt unfurled in her gut, coiling like a snake ready to strike. Was that the truth? Had she, over the years, built a fantasy that wouldn't withstand scrutiny? A wave of anguish surged through her. What do I need to do? She cried out, her voice taut, desperate. Face the reflection, the man's voice slithered back, echoing disdainful excitement. See yourself as the world does, a tapestry of truths and lies intertwined. Before she could respond, the shadows stirred violently, splitting apart like a curtain drawn back too abruptly, revealing what lay beyond, a darkened stage where one figure stood alone, their features obscured. Jason's silhouette emerged, but twisted. His mouth moved, yet no sound reached her. Anxiety clawed at her chest. What was he saying? Was it something from their past? Or perhaps words he longed to share but was too terrified to admit? With a surge of courage, she stepped closer. As she did, the figure morphed, shimmering like a mirage, blurring between Jason and the woman from the photograph. Sarah gasped, her own face reflected back at her, the disheveled hair, those haunting dark eyes filled with sorrow and fear. "No, it can't be," she whispered, and for the first time, the shadows seemed to pull away, giving her a clearer view. It was as if she were seeing her own soul laid bare before her. Every shortcoming, every silence, every unresolved feeling bathed in hues of regret. "Look deeper," the man taunted, reveling in her turmoil. "What do you see?" She fought the urge to shield her eyes. The truth was lurking, like a wild beast ready to strike. This wasn't just about Jason. It was about her, too. Choices she made, ones she avoided, moments where she let fear dictate her path. She was as much a part of this tangled web as he was. Breathless, she collapsed to her knees, engulfed by the unfolding realization. The darkness swirled closer, waiting for her reaction, the shadows alive with expectation and dread. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed through the void, filling the space with anguish. "Why did you let me go?" It wasn't just any voice, it belonged to Jason. Her heart raced. This was not just an admission but a call to action. "Jason." She gasped, the weight of the moment crashing down. "Will you embrace your truth, whatever it may be?" asked the sinister figure, a twisted smile curling his lips. As she hesitated, one singular thought solidified within her, a resolve. She had to know. The darkness swirled and pulsed, and before she could grasp the reality of it, a window opened, a glimpse of the life Jason had led without her, a world filled with shadows but illuminated by whispers of hope. What was this truth that could slice through the darkness? And what would it cost her to confront it? With those questions hanging in the air, Sarah plunged deeper into the unknown, prepared to uncover just how intricately her fate was bound to Jason's existence if she dared to fully grasp the consequences of their shared history. Would the truth strengthen her, or would it shatter the pieces of herself she had so desperately clung to? The moment Sarah crossed into the portal, a jolt of energy surged through her. An unsettling thrill twisted in her stomach, combing dread with an odd sense of eagerness. The world around her shimmered, lines blurring and colors bleeding into one another. She felt weightless, moving through layers of reality, until the vision settled into something solid, a room. The starkness of a dimly lit space hit her like a punch to the gut. This was a place she recognized. It was Jason's studio, cluttered yet oddly serene, a haven for his creativity. But the air was charged with something different now. It was thick with tension, and the shadows cast by the flickering fluorescent light seemed to dance with sinister intent. Jason knelt at his easel, brushes scattered around him like fallen soldiers. The image he painted, a twisted landscape, was hauntingly beautiful and dreadfully wrong all at once. Figures with hollow eyes and mournful expressions reached out from the canvas, their mouths stretched in silent screams. She staggered backward, instinctively wanting to shield her eyes from the horror. "Jason," she called, her voice echoing through the space, but he didn't respond. He was lost in his creation, oblivious to her presence, or so she thought. "Why did you let me go?" His voice broke the silence, soft yet powerful. It struck her from behind, reverberating through her very being. She turned, searching for the source, and her heart stopped. There in the shadowy corner stood the woman from the photograph, that perfect stranger whose face haunted her. Her eyes, once betraying pain, now flickered with something sharper, a knowing. She gestured toward the painting with slow elegance, drawing Sarah's gaze back to the unsettling work of art. The figures in the painting were changing, morphing into a representation of Sarah and Jason. They were intertwined, but the expressions on their faces now reflected pure anguish. A wave of nausea hit her. It was as if the canvas bled with emotion. What was he trying to capture? "What is this, Jason?" she croaked, stepping closer, unable to resist. She felt the warmth of the paintbrushes radiating a strange familiarity, as if they could whisper secrets. "What were you trying to tell me?" In response, Jason turned toward her, his eyes dark and filled with shadows. "I never meant for you to find out like this." His voice was strained, almost like a plea. "Find out what?" Panic surged through her veins as the room started to spin again, shadows creeping closer, tightening around her like a vice. "Everything," he shouted, anger laced with despair. The dreams, the plans, what I painted is what I felt. But it's not just art. He paused, taking a ragged breath, as if willing himself to confess. It's a way of reaching you from the darkness. A flicker of a memory fought its way to the surface. The coldness of his hands when he brushed against her, the empty promises masked with sweet words, it all began to weave together like a tapestry of deception. What darkness, Jason? What have you brought into our lives? Your truth and mine are woven together, he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper, the shadows swallowing the clarity of his words. I thought I was protecting you. Her breath quickened at the implications of his admission. This wasn't just his secret. It was theirs. Before she could reply, the air around them thickened, and a sudden crash echoed, exploding from the painting itself. The figures leaped out, disintegrating into smoke and chaos. Screams filled the room, pulling her mind into a whirlpool of visions, a cacophony of emotions that clawed at her sanity. Sarah! Don't look! Jason yelled, lunging forward as if to shield her. But it was too late. She saw herself reflected in the chaos, bare and terrifying, her worst fears manifesting as shadows that screamed her name. She staggered back, struggling to free herself from the vortex threatening to pull her under. Face the truth, Sarah. You can't shy away from it anymore. Jason's voice blended with the cacophony, desperate yet urging. Fear clawed at her throat. But what if I don't like what I find? It doesn't matter. He shouted back, anger boiling over. This is who we are. All the good and the broken. We can't escape it. As his words sank in, the swirling shadows began to quiet, forming a single path that led deeper into the chaos, half-lit omens promising revelation but echoing with sheer terror. Could she truly face the fragments of their lives? Hovering on the brink of revelation, Sarah braced herself. What haunting truths awaited her beneath the layers of shadow? She stepped forward, not knowing if this would lead to salvation or obliteration, but knowing all too well she had to confront the darkness that was as much hers as it was his. With each breath, the air thickened, the boundaries of their lives blurring into a mosaic of pain and love. Would she find the strength to mend it, or would it irrevocably shatter? As she delved into the heart of their secrets, a flicker of something familiar caught her eye, a sinister smile in the shadows, watching, waiting. What if this time, Sarah emerged not just to face her fears, but also to understand just how far down the rabbit hole of truth and betrayal ran? The moment Sarah stepped into the path forged by the swirling shadows, the air around her pulsed like a heartbeat, thrumming with raw energy. Each footfall echoed, amplifying her unease. The buzzing ceased, leaving only a thick silence, heavy and suffocating. Unease rippled through her. She looked back. Jason's figure was distorted, a ghostly reminder of the past she was desperately trying to comprehend. Stay close. His voice tore through the stillness, but it felt like a distant whisper echoing from far away. The shadows flickered, sending a shiver down her spine, as if they had a will of their own, urging her deeper and deeper into the strange reality. The walls of the studio morphed, twisting into grotesque shapes, memories flashing before her eyes like a disjointed movie reel. Vivid images of laughter and joy mixed with scenes of arguments and tears, each more disorienting than the last. Her heart raced as she grasped at the remnants of her reality. What is this place? She gasped, feeling a fine sheen of sweat break across her brow. It's where our truths collide, Jason replied, his image flickering like a faulty electronic screen before her. Every brushstroke, every piece of your heart I hid from you, it's all here. Her heart sank. Each revelation felt like a jagged stone, each piece of his truth firmly lodged in her throat. The twisting path before her split into two, one side beckoned darkly, whispering secrets she feared she would uncover, the other shimmered faintly with the warmth of happier memories. Follow the light. Jason urged, desperation clear in his tone. It's your way out. No. She cried, instinctively retreating from the pull of the shadows. What if it leads me further away from you? What if I lose you completely? And then, from the thick smoke, emerged a figure. The woman from the photograph, calm yet ominous, standing there as if she had always belonged to this twisted canvas. Her smile was chilling, a blend of sympathy and vindication. You can't change what's already been painted, Sarah, she said softly. Who are you? Sarah shouted, cutting through the mounting chaos. What do you want from me? Think, Sarah, the woman insisted, her voice dripping with a sickly sweet charm. I'm merely the mirror reflecting the truth you refuse to see. Jason's art wasn't merely selfish, it was a desperate cry for salvation. Isn't that worth confronting? What are you saying? Doubt knotted in Sarah's chest, her breath hitching. Jason's obsessions, the pictures, this woman, they were all parts of the same terrifying tapestry. Your truths are entangled. Embrace them or remain lost, the apparition said, extending a hand, beckoning Sarah. Don't you want to know why he was scared to lose you? The shadows thickened around her, twisting her indecision. Jason, fighting behind the curtain of dusty smoke, seemed smaller, diminished, as if each confession weakened him. Sarah. Please don't listen to her. This is a scream split through the air, drowning his voice. The shadows erupted, transforming into stormy figures that closed in, drawn by the rift of her turmoil. They surged forward, hungry for the pain of their truth. Sarah's body surged with adrenaline, the fight or flight instinct ignited. Stop! She yelled, but the void only absorbed her desperation, the figures now spilling like ink across the canvas, threatening to engulf her. In that moment, clarity cracked through the chaos. It was fear of loss holding her back. Not knowing could be worse than facing the truth. She steeled herself, taking a deep breath, recognizing this darkness was as much hers as Jason's. Jason. She called into the fray. I'm ready to discover our truth together. But before she could follow her resolve, the woman moved closer, her eyes piercing. Are you sure, Sarah? Because once you see it, there is no turning back. Just tell me the truth. Sarah demanded, her voice cracking yet firm. And that's when the shadows stilled, swirling like a tempest that suddenly faced a wall. The silence was deafening. Very well, the woman said, her smile widening into something both terrifying and alluring, as if she held the keys to both salvation and damnation. As the painting tore apart, revealing the hidden depths beneath, Sarah's heart raced. Could she withstand what was to come? Would this lead to liberation or condemnation? The shadows shifted once again, flickering with incomprehensible images. In the back of her mind, she felt a familiar pulse of fear entwined with excitement that left her clinging to the edge of sanity. Would she find the strength to face what lay beneath the chaos? Or would uncovering their buried truths suffocate her entirely? And at that instant, Sarah made a choice, stepping forward into the unknown, where every reality hung in the balance and a chilling laughter echoed in the shadows. Would she emerge unscathed, or would the truth chain her to this darkness forever? The air hung thick with anticipation, heavy like a fog wrapping Sarah in its embrace. The swirling shadows projected visions of her life with Jason spliced together with lies and truths she had buried deep within herself. She felt exposed, raw and vulnerable, but she couldn't turn away now. With each step she took, the echo of her heartbeat thundered in her ears. The woman, the mirror of her unacknowledged fears, deserved no more welcome than the shadows closing in on their secrets. What do you want from me? Sarah asked again, her voice steadier this time. You're not a victim. You're the key. The woman's voice dripped like honey, laced with sinister undertones. Once you face your truth, you can either shatter Jason's fragile world or save the both of you. Why do I have to choose? Sarah felt a wave of anguish. I love him. It was a fierce declaration that cut through her doubt, but still, the truth clawed its way to the surface. Do you love someone built on shadows? The woman countered, eyes narrowing. Or is it the dream of him you cling to? The Jason you created in your mind? Jason's presence flickered like a candle threatening to blow out. She turned back toward him, feeling his energy as a distant warmth. I want to help you. I need to know the entire truth, together. His form solidified, anger rippling across his features as he stepped forward, shadows lifting momentarily. Don't follow me into this abyss, Sarah. You don't know what lies ahead. But the fear inside Sarah began to shimmer with newfound resolve. No, Jason. She shouted, her voice cutting through the dark. I need this. You've lived in your truth for too long. Now, it's our turn. The woman laughed, a chilling sound slicing through the tension. You've made your choice, Sarah. But can you handle what comes next? With a swift motion, she gestured toward a tapestry woven from shadows, shadowy figures forming a web that strung both Jason and Sarah together. This is no simple reveal, it's a reckoning. Sudden clarity enveloped Sarah, slipping through layers of doubt. What am I supposed to do? She rasped, dread tightening around her heart. Embrace everything you are, every flaw, every yearning. No more glossing over the darkness, the woman implored, extending her arm toward Sarah. Face what you want to be. With courage surging through her veins, Sarah reached out. The night trembled as she linked hands with the shadowy figure, feeling the tremor of past fears rippling beneath her skin. I'm ready, she declared, her voice a clarion call against the encroaching dark. The shadows roared to life, the echo of turbulent whispers swirling around them. The fabric of reality began to split, inviting her to step through a doorway overflowing with memories, each one more urgent and chaotic than the last. She braced herself, pulling Jason into this shared moment. Together. She shouted, and for the first time, he reached for her, lacing their fingers tightly. The dark fog enveloped them, swirling into a vortex of their intertwined fates. They were catapulted deeper into the nexus of time, where emotions ran like rivers, violent and raw. In that moment, scenes exploded around them, laughter, love, betrayal, images forged from the deepest corners of their souls. They witnessed their own pain, their omissions, every moment that brought them to the precipice of darkness. Feel it. The woman's voice rang out, urging them. Let go of the fear, Sarah. Let the pain transform you. Tears streamed down her face as the whirlwind of memories engulfed her. Too many lies, she gasped, choking on the truth. Too many secrets. We've built walls of deceit. Jason's expression mirrored her heartbreak, and he turned to Sarah, eyes blazing with intensity. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was protecting you. That's just another lie. She screamed, and the words resonated, shattering the fragile tapestry binding their truths. You kept me in the dark, Jason. But I'm not afraid anymore. As the shadows converged, faces morphed and distorted in the chaos, the truth licked at their heels like a wildfire. Gritting her teeth, she faced the storm, resolute in her decision. We are more than our secrets. Let us tear down these walls together. With that declaration vibrating through her core, they surged forward, confronting the demons of their past. The shadows fell away, fleeing from the brilliant light that exploded in front of them, and then there it was, a small, flickering glow that burned brighter than they could have imagined. A memory, a moment, fragile yet powerful. As they fell into the warmth of hope, everything realigned, a kaleidoscope of choices spinning wildly. They were suspended there, caught in the web of their intertwined lives, still clinging fiercely to one another. Are you ready for the truth? The woman echoed, her voice no longer sinister but reverberating with promise. Yes. They cried out in unison, a resounding testament that would reverberate into eternity. In the heart of darkness, they found each other, finding strength in vulnerability and a tantalizing whisper of hope. As the light enveloped them, the last of the shadows withered away. The unknown had transformed into a luminous possibility, enveloping them in a warmth they had almost forgotten. We'll face whatever comes next, Sarah whispered, feeling Jason's breath against her skin, raw and honest. They were no longer bound by fear but by understanding, a shared commitment to emerge whole from this tumultuous journey. If they fell into the depths, they would rise together, with the shadows burnt away and their truths laid bare. Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. Whatever haunted them before was just that, a whisper of the dark now banished. He was no longer just Jason hiding behind confusion, he was her partner, her love. Emboldened, they stepped toward the radiant glow together, acceptance of their past, their intertwined futures buoying them forward into the light, and the promise of tomorrow forged in understanding. As they crossed into the light, the woman faded into the shadows, an echo of their transformation. "Remember this moment," she whispered, "for you found your power in the truth." Sarah and Jason emerged illuminated, forged anew and brighter than either had ever dared to imagine. In the aftermath, they could finally breathe again, knowing they hadn't just found each other, they had rediscovered themselves. Together, they would remain open to the light, untainted by the weight of buried secrets. And in that moment of dappled sunlight, with a new beginning ahead, Sarah knew the future was theirs to shape, and she would walk into it, hand in hand with Jason, unafraid. So as they moved forward, the last lingering echo of the shadow whispered through their hearts, "You've embraced your truth, now go make new memories." Within it lay the ultimate lesson learned: the beauty of uncovering dark truths could forge a bond stronger than any lie they'd ever believed. Now they were ready for whatever life would send their way. This was the moment of absolute possibility. And it was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.